got any plans for today?
Yeah, we're going to go to an art exhibition. The Whitworks have been loaned some Hockney prints, exploring gay life as an artist in Los Angeles in the early 60s.
Ah, I love a bit of Hockney, me. Mr. Maker's the only art I get to see these days. Anyway, I was thinking, after yesterday, if there's any other ways that I could help. So, I thought I'd give this place a good bottoming.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
Hello and welcome to episode 260 of The Talk of the Street, an unofficial Coronation Street catch-up podcast that knows that Coronation Street is bigger than any of us, but Maureen Lipman is not any of us. I'm Gavin.
And I just want to see the sky again.
Oh.
And breathe correctly again.
I don't have a melodrama button. I've got...
I've fallen, and I can't get up.
We're sending help immediately, Mrs. Fletcher.
Will that do? Oh. Now, Helen is inviting me to guess how many fingers she's holding up.
You are having a hard time breathing too.
Well, only when I'm walking. It's fine when I'm just sitting about. So, a good excuse not to walk.
As long as I don't go anywhere or move
or do
my
anything.
Body,
yeah,
I'm fine, he says.
It's like that, you know that really ugly fish that lives at the bottom of the ocean, the one that kind of looks like Chesney a little bit?
The blobfish?
The blobfish.
Right, which does not look like that when it's actually alive and under the sea, by the way. It's actually quite beautiful in its natural environment.
I'm sure Chesney's quite beautiful in his own natural environment too. That fish's main thing that it does is conserve energy. I think we're all a little bit of a blobfish every now and again, aren't we? My main function is to conserve energy.
Yes. Yeah, we have been under smoke for most of the week this week, and Michigan has had the worst air quality in the world. At least,
not just the worst air quality in the US,
right?
In the world,
because it's all pretty bad. If you look at the map of like the air quality warning, it's at this point it's from here to New York to the East Coast completely. Mm-hmm. And then in the South, they're under an extreme heat warning. Mm-hmm. A postal worker in Texas died while delivering the mail because it was 115 degrees Fahrenheit outside. So this country is so
45, is that about 45C? Something like that.
Yeah.
An oofty amount of heat.
An oofty amount of heat.
Yeah, we were, when you looked at the map this morning, we were just the tip of the very unhealthy to just simply unhealthy range. And then we kind of moved into just it's not great, but it's much better than it had been.
Right, because we were at dangerous range.
Yeah.
It's not fun to look and see dangerous.
A map that's covered in red and a deep, deep red.
Right.
Seldom means good things.
No.
But, it's just us and a few million other people, so hey-ho.
Hey-ho, hey-ho.
How are you otherwise? Oh, you're signalling again with one finger and it's confusing me.
Different finger.
Action talk.
I'm very nearly done
Is that
with...
still funny? Seemingly.
Only when you say it.
Okay.
Very nearly done with the farmhouse auction. It's taken longer than I wanted it to because I was sick one week and then Stelly had her amoxicillin rash another week.
No, I forgot about
and
that.
then
That was
we had to take her out to Connecticut another week and you know, so it's taken longer than I wanted it to, and I just want it done because I want to work on the children's auction and then the book auction. I'm quite excited because I got to go not this week but last week and look at lots and lots of lovely, lovely art books in this lovely, lovely house filled with lovely, lovely art up in the Richie Rich part of Okemos.
Oh.
So that was fun. So sometimes people bring us stuff to put in the auctions that I have to kind of make a silk purse out of a sow's ear, so to speak.
Mm.
And sometimes that involves taking that sow's ear to Goodwill. How was your week?
I've got a alias.
You do.
We were having some fun at work. My boss had got a unsolicited call. And so one of my colleagues looked up the number on this website called Fast People Search and managed to find out a huge amount of detail about whoever was calling my boss. So, of course, I looked up myself and discovered that I have an alias.
What?
I'm not going to say what the exact alias is because then people can look that up and find out stuff about me.
Yeah.
But let's just say it was Frank F. Hoggle.
That's exactly what it was.
Frankie Hoggle.
Yes, Frankie Hoggle.
Who apparently is a known alias that I have. And
That you didn't know about.
that I didn't know about. And I don't know if that means that somebody's stealing. Well, they're not stealing my identity because they've got a different name. But
Right.
it kind of suggests that something unpleasant is going on. And I've looked up this person and found them in the panhandle of Florida. And they got divorced round about the same time that I got divorced. And they're round about the same age as me. And I'm trying to find out if I can find a picture of them. Because what if that picture
Looks like you.
looks like me?
I think it's my dad.
It might be your dad. Shall we preamble, my dear?
Yes, please.
Give us some of that counterfeit Corrie news.
Does Coronation Street have a ghost?
No, ghost.
A ghost?
Rikes.
The answer is yes, according to Ellen
fair
Mulvaney,
enough.
Rob Mallard, and Kel Allen. They've all experienced supposedly supernatural things. And in researching the story, I discovered that Simon Gregson was on Most Haunted once.
It was, yeah.
Was that before or
I think
after?
was it Most Haunted or was it I'm Famous and Scared or something like that?
No, it was Most
Was it?
Haunted. Yeah. Do you think Simon loves Dick as well?
Like Mary does.
Mary loves Dick.
Mary loves Dick.
Mary loves Dick.
Dick. That was our, God rest his soul,
Yeah.
Derek Pecora impression.
I wonder who he's hunting. But unfortunately, OK Magazine's website would only let me read half of the article. And then when I clicked to read the rest of the article, it said that the article was not available in my country. So if you're in the UK and you find this article, please let me know about their experiences. I saw a little bit of Cal Allen's that supposedly they see like the ghosts of dead actors who were on the show walking around and stuff.
Oh.
And that it's haunted because so many legendary people have walked these cobbles. Which I don't necessarily know is true because isn't this a newer...
Yeah, they moved the whole set, didn't they?
Right, yeah. So this isn't the original building.
Well, maybe
the ghosts came
don't
with
know
them.
that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. They're like haunting the costumes or something.
Or maybe it's old pish.
The Trick, or Television and Radio Industries Club Awards, were this past week. And while Charlotte Jordan and Ryan Prescott were both nominated for Best Soap Actor, they both lost out to EastEnders' Danielle Harold, who is part of who's the one who win the brain cancer storyline on EastEnders. So, well deserved. And finally, we are happy to report that David Nielsen is, in fact, still alive.
That was
And that's Corrie News.
That was a terrifying few moments.
Yes.
Because somebody tagged me, I think it was our good friend John Giovanacci, who'd heard
rumors.
Who'd heard the rumour, and the Wikipedia page for David Nielsen had been updated to use the past tense and stuff. And so I looked it up and tried to verify it from another source, and it was impossible because
It wasn't
it
true.
wasn't true. But who does something like that?
This happens all the time. This is Bruce Willis, Clint Eastwood, and now David Nielsen. You know, people just start these rumors. We are sad to report that so-and-so is dead. You know, just for the clicks. Because people are horrified and say, what? And they click. And then they're not in fact dead because they're not in fact dead. However, Alan Arkin did die today. So rest in peace. Legendary film and television actor, Alan Arkin. And that's Corrie News.
That's Corrie News. So it's time for me to hit the old YouTube button and say, everyone's a critic.
Uh-oh.
Daisy drops us a line saying, thanks for the great last 2 podcasts. Smashed them whilst cleaning my house today. Love what you said about changing the logo. Small acts like that are actually huge. This was us changing the logo for the rainbow.
Yes.
I'm glad you said fuck off 3 times within the first 5 minutes. With you all the way. I love them breaks. I hope there's never a sponsor and it continues as it is. When Aggie's pal turned out to be broke, I gasped and said under my breath, way to go, Helen.
Aw.
My only major note recently is poor fucking Ryan. Don't know how he's managing. Carla is the best series auntie I've ever seen though, so really glad for her screen time and awaiting her saying ball bag sometime soon. Glad you had a good holiday. Send you both great vibes from a rainy Glasgow. Thank you so much, Daisy.
I wish it was raining, Daisy.
And then we had a collection of letters who wrote on our Podbean page. Thanks for the interview at the end of the podcast. This was from our June 2nd episode, Salmonella Butty. I know I'm commenting a few weeks late, but I'm in Canada and only listen when the episodes have aired. I had no idea MND was so similar to ALS. Since the storyline started, I was curious to know what it was. Well, that's really good to know, and
yes.
I'm glad that the interview shed some light on that.
Absolutely.
Let's see who we've got to thank this week on Will Podcast for Coffee. We will be buying our own iced coffees this week. But thank you to everyone for your generosity over the last 30 days. I will be rounding up the donations that be made during June and let's just call it $100 and send that to the Motor Neuron Disease Association later this weekend. Humble gratitude to everyone who donated. It's very kind of you and we do appreciate it. The Talk of the Street is and always will be free on your podcast provider and on the YouTubes. But if you think our show is worth anything more than the time it takes to listen to it, and if you want to show your appreciation, you can buy us next week's coffee by going to ko-fi.com, that's ko-fi.com/The Talk of the Street. And you can also sign up to be a friend of the podcast through the same link, where for as little as $2 a month, you can get a mention in the closing credits of every episode. But remember, you can always support the podcast for free and get us in front of new listeners by liking, subscribing, rating and reviewing wherever you get your podcasts. And now, this.
Oh, welcome.
Well, welcome to Last Year Tonight with me, John Oliver. Just enough time to quickly talk about absolutely nothing.
Because we didn't do the podcast this week last year because we were on the road in Colorado, New Mexico, Utah, and did I say New Mexico? Arizona.
There you go. Yeah, we were on the Hollybobs this time last year.
We were at our Hollybobs.
And this should have been my clue that it was our anniversary coming up. You know, the problem is that the 4th of July is such a big holiday here, and it's your favourite holiday. Is it still your favourite holiday?
Yeah. Not because I'm a xenophobic or anything like that. I just like fireworks and hot dogs and baseball.
So it looms so large on the calendar, it's easy to forget that it casts a bit of a shadow over the 3rd of July, which is our wedding anniversary.
Correct.
So thank you for reminding me of that in the kitchen yesterday.
11 years.
11 years.
And they said it wouldn't last.
They literally said in court that it
In
wouldn't
court,
last.
under oath.
We're doing it just for spite. Wouldn't that be funny? So yeah, so there is no Last Year Tonight. And there'll be no Last Year Tonight next week neither,
either.
because we took 2 weeks off. I don't remember taking 2 weeks off.
Yeah.
Remember we got the lapel mics and we're going to record ourselves
Right.
driving in the car, and I thought, fuck
that.
We're on holiday. Fuck that.
Fuck
all the way.
that.
Oh well.
Oh, well.
We will take a quick break and we will be right back with this week's recap. We're back. Shall we dive in, my dear?
Ah, you did that too fast. Yes, please.
Now, due to smoke from the Canadian wildfires, the poor air quality and the hot temperatures in Michigan, we will have no time for any jokes this week. Our first storyline...
That's all we'll have time for.
Our first storyline is Knocked Up Sarah. On Monday in the morning, Adam has
What? I'm shocked. Shocked, I tell you.
his...
I never saw this coming. What? When did this happen?
You done?
Yes.
In the morning, Adam has an apron on and is making a Scottish fry-up. Sausages, bacon, eggs, haggis, black pudding and tatty scones.
And tomatoes.
Oddly,
And mushrooms.
Sarah's stomach is absolutely fine with all this. Meanwhile, at the bistro, Leanne and Nick are wondering where the fuck Damon has got to ahead of the supposed meeting with Lindsay, who, let's remember, Nick knows. What does that mean? Leanne recalls that the last time she saw Damon, he was looking rather shifty. Nick thinks, though, that he's turned over a new leaf and genuinely seemed worried. So Nick and Leanne go to the meeting with this Lindsay character, who Nick knows,
Nick does know.
on their own. But they end up having to come back empty-handed because Damon was a no-show.
Well, but Nick knows her. Nick should have been able to handle this.
It was Damon's meeting.
They are so terrible at running this restaurant.
Nobody's taken responsibility. Nobody's seen the opportunity to step up.
This is what Steven should be doing. Instead of trying to run the factory, he should be running the bistro. He's picked the wrong niece/nephew to try to gaslight into taking over their jobs.
Right enough, though, all his expertise is in fashion,
And badgering people.
clearly.
And murder.
So they end up having to come back empty-handed because Damon was a no-show. Nick hasn't been able to get a hold of him on the phone, but it seems at this point that Damon didn't nick the money from the safe, but all his stuff is gone. Sarah comes in and gets the lay of the land from the pair of them. So that pleased me, that Damon
Yes.
hadn't stolen the money.
Right.
But he did contemplate it. You could see
He
him
did.
looking at the safe.
He
and thinking
did. It
about
was this cliffhanger. Did he or didn't he? Well, he didn't.
So it makes you wonder what were in those bags then
Clothing,
that he picked up from the office of the bistro.
toiletries,
Or maybe a leg of ham. Who knows?
a leg of ham.
A leg of lamb. Sorry, I thought of ham, then I thought of lamb, and I tried to do the two of them at once.
A leg of spam.
Right. Or a spam of lamb.
Ooh.
Ooh, lamb ham.
Hamma lamma ding dong.
No jokes.
We didn't say they'd be good.
She quickly rushes back to give Adam the good news that Damon has done a runner. Adam plays dumb in the matter, but can barely conceal his glee. Sarah goes to the Rovers to celebrate with Dee Dee, but when she takes a drink of her wine, she balks at it. Helpfully, Bernie, Gemma and Tim's mum are in talking about babies, and this seems to force Sarah to do some quick addition of 2 and 2 in her head, and she rushes off. And she gets back to the flat with a pregnancy test kit. One splash of wee later, and it's confirmed, the least well-kept shock in soap. Sarah is up the duff. And that brings us on to this week's hard debate.
Not that hard.
Sarah's pregnant? How shocked are you? 0 volts or 1 to 24 million volts? 0 volts got 88.8% and 1 to 24 million volts got 11.2%. And I wonder if that was people who genuinely were shocked or who
Or
didn't
people-
understand the phrasing of the question.
Right. Or people who thought they were funny.
So Dee Dee comes round to make sure that Sarah's all right and is immediately handed Sarah's new secret. She's up the duff and she has no idea if it's Adam's or Damon's.
Dum dum dum.
Oh, says Dee Dee. And Dee Dee says, oh, quite a lot.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, back at the bistro, Nick shares his suspicions with Leanne that maybe something untoward has happened to Damon and maybe Adam has been good to his threat from last week and killed him.
What?
Later, Adam gets home and Sarah wastes no time in letting him know her news. Adam seems happy for about 1 second before he realises what this means or what it suggests. and is further enraged when Sarah confirms that she doesn't know whose baby it is, although she's pretty sure that it's hers. She does tell Adam that she's gotten her hold of him the most, so if that's got anything, if that's
Right.
any way to calculate
So,
these things.
statistically, it's yours.
Right. Oh, and by the way, Dee Dee knows. Sarah thinks it might be best if she just goes and gets a termination. Adam can't deal with this right now, so leaves and goes to speak with Ken, but has to make do with Daniel instead.
Right.
So Adam tells Daniel the situation, and Daniel's bright idea is to go for a walk with him and Bertie to try and clear his head, which Adam agrees to, which, if anything, just cements Adam's suspicion that Mr. Osborne is a fanny. So Adam gets home and suggests that Sarah gets a non-invasive DNA test. Now, I didn't know that these were a thing,
Really?
so I looked it up,
Uh-huh.
and apparently you can get a non-invasive DNA test where it takes some of your... There's a word for it, for the type of fluid. It's not amniotic fluid. Maybe it is amniotic fluid.
Amniotic fluid.
Close enough. Get some of that fluid and you can test the DNA in that. But it says, the source that I managed to find, that it can only be done between 20 and 24 weeks,
Yeah, which she is not.
which she is not.
Yeah. And at 20 to 24 weeks, you're getting... Well, I don't know what it is in the UK, but
think-
here in America, you're getting very close to not being able to get a termination,
Yeah, it almost
depending
seems
upon your state.
deliberately close to that cut-off point, so you can't get an abortion just because it's not your baby daddy's.
Yeah. Which,
So,
yeah.
so I don't know how feasible this is, or if further research would have pointed me towards a different answer, but that was what I found.
Yeah, the show is flubbing science. Would you believe? Would you believe that a show that is fictitious is being fictitious?
Yeah. Well, that's fine.
It's fine.
So Sarah agrees to it and reiterates that she'll do anything to save her marriage. Adam thanks her and goes to book the appointment. And later, while Sarah is out picking up Harry from football, in her condition as well, Nick comes around, no doubt on Leanne's instruction, to find out if Adam really did kill Damon. Adam gently explains to Mr. Backbone that all he did was grass Damon up to the local crime lord and let nature take its course. Damon will be alright as long as he can run fast enough. You going to shed any tears, he asks, and Nick admits not, although he is going to cry, but for different reasons.
Right.
Later, after Sarah comes home, she wants to know what the plans are. And Adam says that he's planning on sticking by Sarah no matter what.
Right.
And she says, well, what do we do if the baby is not his? What do we do if it's Damon's? And Adam reminds her that she offered to get an abortion and asks if she could do that. And she says that she could. But she certainly doesn't look to be as committed to the idea as she once was.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. It feels a bit like a moral quandary there. I want this baby if it's yours, but if it's not yours, I don't want this baby.
This kind of suggested to me how this is going to play out.
Yeah.
Is that the baby is
Damon's.
not going to be Adam's, it's going to be Damon's. And it's kind of got to be Damon's really for the drama to work a little bit, doesn't it?
Right.
And she decides to keep it.
Yeah.
That seems to be the way that this seems to be going.
And then Adam loses his shit
Right.
and then lets slip what he did to protect their marriage. And so she should have the termination because look what he did to protect their marriage. And then Sarah loses her shit at him for potentially getting Damon killed by a local drug lord.
So,
Or not
producers
drugs.
of Coronation Street, if you haven't written that scene yet, it sounds like Helen's already got it in the bag.
I was right about
Now, the Funk's old brother?
well that and also Aggie's old friend being poor.
You were. I'm not sure if that's if that's an indication of future predictions, but anyway. On Wednesday, Dee Dee, who doesn't work at the factory, turns up at the factory pretty much to gossip with Sarah about her duffage. She is worried that she and Adam are avoiding each other, so Sarah confides in Dee Dee that she and Adam are going for a DNA test today. Today? Asks Dee Dee, who clearly thinks it's also impossible before 20 weeks as well.
Right.
Later, they meet up again in Nina's Rolls. Dee Dee is now worried that Sarah is acting like it's no big deal, but Sarah tells her that it's all her mind can think about. She's all over the place and she can't sleep. She just needs to get the results done and back. So at the hospital, we join the scene just as Adam's DNA is being swabbed from his cheek. And we're told it'll be 2 weeks before the result. Adam doesn't think it's too long, and Sarah seems to think it's an eternity. Back home, Dee Dee shows up again to see how it went and wants to know what Sarah's plan is. Sarah is waiting to get the results, and if it's Adam's, she'll keep it, and if it's not, she won't. It's a pretty binary decision, but she's looking more and more unconvinced every time she says it. We have mentioned many times that Dee Dee is inadvertently becoming the street's secret keeper.
Right.
But here, in 3 out of the 4 scenes, Dee Dee just appears to quiz Sarah about what's going on. So she's kind of gone from being inadvertent secret keeper to bit of a nosy bitch.
Shame on you. She was actually in the factory to take Michael out for lunch. Remember, her brother works there. How dare you?
Yeah, I'm just here to see Michael, but oh, by the way.
Right. Well, they are friends, and she wants to be supportive. And if Sarah didn't want to tell her she was pregnant, Sarah wouldn't have told her she was pregnant.
Well, we know why Dee Dee knows about this. It's the same reason why Daniel knows about it. So Sarah has somebody to talk to about her inner feelings without Adam finding out, and Adam has someone to talk to about his inner feelings without Sarah finding out.
Right.
But it's just funny that
it's Dee Dee.
That Dee Dee just was in this storyline more than Adam was on Wednesday.
Which is fine. I prefer Dee Dee to Adam.
Her hair's certainly better.
Yes.
On Friday, Sarah gets into the factory where she still currently works. Michael shows off the maternity designs because of irony and plot. She suggests that they pitch the designs to Owen, and she tries to keep her cool about the whole thing. But in the Rovers later, Adam meets up with Michael and Sarah, who have successfully pitched the maternity wear to Owen. And when Adam learns about the maternity aspect of it, he suddenly remembers that he has an important meeting to attend and he leaves.
Yeah, he was weird.
Back home, Sarah is worried that Adam thinks that there could be something going on between her and Owen, and this, I'm not sure why she jumped to this conclusion.
Well, just because he would be jealous of any man with her right now because of the whole thing. You know, and because Sarah at some point, you know, Sarah says, I've been in your shoes where my partner cheated on me, and then I just saw cheaters behind every tree with the devil.
But she's pregnant, and she doesn't know whose baby it is.
Right.
This would be a really bad time for her to hook up with a third man.
Right. But then she also says that she thought that he was uncomfortable with her hanging out with Michael. And it's like, really?
Did Adam give the impression that that was true?
Well, the way he kind of abruptly left. But it turns out all for the good. He left to do good things. He left to get a...
No, not from that, he didn't.
He left to get a tea, didn't he? And
no, because he left the pub.
Right.
And then they meet up back at the flat where she says to him that he might be worried that there's something going on between her and Owen, and there isn't. And he says that he's just stressed about the DNA results, and then he leaves. And when he comes back from that, it's when he's come back from the shops with goods for Harry's project and some ice cream and a fancy tea that looked like a lasagna to me.
What project does Harry have where he has to build a volcano at the age of what, 4? What school do they have this baby in?
He's moved on very quickly from soft play.
Soft volcano.
This must be some kind of Montessori. Is it Montessori? Is that the word?
Destruction. Death.
Okay. So they've got a fancy tea that looked like a lasagna to properly celebrate Sarah's success of Michael designing new clothes. As Sarah goes to put the messages away, it looks like Adam is contemplating checking her phone, but I don't think he does. And that's as far as we get with that this week. So, were you shocked about Sarah's pregnancy?
I'm shocked. Shocked. Well, not that shocked.
Not that shocked.
I just did a meme.
Did you?
I did. The Futurama one where he says, I'm shocked, and then says, well, not that shocked.
Okay. I think we said as well the other week that it doesn't really matter that some things are obvious and some things are clearly going to happen because of the way that the story has been set up, and that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Right.
That it's predictable. It's kind of what they do with it.
Right.
That kind of makes it interesting and worthwhile. And I don't know that they succeeded in that this week.
Yeah. But in fairness, there are things that happen in other storylines this week that I was surprised by and was shocked by. So it evens out.
Yeah, I mean, out of I think there were just the 5 storylines this week, and this one was probably my least favourite out of the 5 of them. Maybe second least favourite. So where you kind of want something to compensate for the fact that this shocking event wasn't shocking in the slightest, we didn't really get that, except Adam's now behaving kind of weirdly and looking like he's checking a phone, but not really, and being accused of being jealous of Sarah and Owen, but is he really? And maybe...
And then Sarah and Michael.
Right. But I don't think he's given any
know.
indication of that. It just seems really strange. So,
Yes.
So what do you think about the way that this is going to go?
It's got to be Damon's kid, right? It's got to be.
Well, if it's not Damon's, if it's Adam's, the story just
Dies.
stops, right?
Right. The story dies on the vine if it's Adam's kid.
Now, normally you would say that typically doesn't happen. Coronation Street has got a little bit of a habit recently of extending stories too far rather than cutting them back. But we did just get rid of scaffolding that served really no purpose for
Correct.
the best part of a year.
Yes.
So I don't think it's impossible that it's Adams, but it just seems very, very unlikely.
Right.
But based on the discussions that they've had so far, I don't know that Adam is the sort of man who's going to be capable of looking after another man's baby.
I mean, he already is.
It's a slightly different situation.
It's true.
And by slightly, I mean completely.
Right.
I think that would probably spell the end for them.
Yeah.
Which I've talked about before, is like I'm not really all that invested in it. And I
No.
kind of became a little bit more invested in it more recently, but
Yeah.
I still don't think I'd be really that bothered if
If they split up.
The fun comes from the coupling.
Right.
Once they're in a couple, it's kind of just a matter of time before they split up almost.
Right. Yeah.
Nobody lasts anymore.
Or they both just have their own individual storylines, but they're still a couple. Like Carla, for example. Nobody knows where Peter is.
Haven't a fucking clue.
Haven't a clue where Peter is. But Carla is all about being Auntie Carla now and also dealing with factory stuff this week. So she can be completely independent of the coupling that they're in, and that's fine.
It's even more bizarre when you consider the state that Carla was in when Peter went AWOL. Because Carla was just coming out of her supposed relapse into mental health issues, and this is the time that Peter's chosen to abandon her. Or is he meant to be there and we just don't see him? Because that's possible.
Remember, wasn't it last week where she said that he'd fucked off to Scotland or
he was on
something with
his
a
boat
friend?
or
Yeah,
something, wasn't he? Yeah.
something like that. No, his boat burned down. Remember?
Oh, but his friend's boat.
Yes, his friend's boat. Because he doesn't have a boat anymore thanks to Roy and his sleepwalking.
Right. Let's just hope he hasn't gone on any submarines recently. Oh, too soon?
Not soon enough.
So Damon's out of it. He hasn't stolen the money. He hasn't been the rotter. He hasn't damaged anybody else by his departure, which is nice. It's just a matter of time before he comes back, though, isn't it?
Right. Do you think Jacob's going to come back?
I hope so. I
Me
don't think
too.
he will, though, judging by...
Well, what is John Jack Ryan doing right now?
Didn't he have another gig? I thought he got another gig.
I thought he had another gig too, but I haven't really heard. But I thought it was temporary. I thought it was just for like 6 months or something. I thought it was like a limited series or something.
We would welcome him back with open arms.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure Amy would as well.
Yes.
Oh well, let's move on to our next storyline, which is Mad Max 4 Redemption Road. On Monday, Max is in the precinct when he's mounted from behind by Gav,
Yay!
who has been let out of the young offenders thing.
Woo!
Smell the freedom, he says. Max pretends to be thrilled to see him. Gav says he hasn't yet seen Beck, but he can't wait to, as he has plans to propose, and Max can be best man. Gulp, says Max, and he says that Beck has moved on and has seen another guy. Who, demands Gav. Me, says Max.
Why?
Why I oughta?
Why would he tell him? Why?
Why I oughta, screams Gav, and he goes for Max and starts banging him against the wall.
Yes.
But not like that.
But not like that, unfortunately.
Also said that Max was mounted from behind and you didn't say I'm not like that. I'm very disappointed in you. Max pleads for his life when
You didn't give me enough time.
Beck appears out of her house. Max, she shouts. Beck, Max shouts. Beck, says Gav, and he laughs a little bit like Eddie Murphy did in Coming to America. That's not Beck. That's Sabrina, Gav's sister.
Yes.
What? I guess this might be the bit that you didn't see coming.
Yeah, you are correct. I 100% did not see this coming. We had all these plans for this love triangle storyline, and
We were playing 4D chess with this storyline about
Right.
what was going to happen, because this was maybe all a ruse between Gav and Beck, that they were
Right.
setting Max up.
right.
And this, that, and the next thing, and nope.
The show is playing checkers.
We were playing 4D chess, and the show was playing checkers
Yes.
without knowing the rules. But
Of checkers.
I am so glad that they were playing checkers without knowing the rules, because I didn't want a reason to dislike Gav or Sabrina as she is. And if anything, Gav's reaction to this when he was pissing himself laughing
Right.
was just superb.
It was.
And Max is like, as the audience during this, and
Going, what?
what? Just superb. It's all a bit confusing, so
Right.
let's walk through it. Gav hates Sabrina because Sabrina stole money from him,
Yes.
but Sabrina had been chucked out of their mum's place,
Right.
and so broke into Gav's, because apparently Gav is living on his own in a precinct flat.
Right.
What?
Well, apparently Beck was staying there too, wasn't she?
And she pretended to be Beck so Max wouldn't tell Gav, I guess.
Yes.
You lied, says Max to Sabrina,
Right.
walking right into it for the first but not the last time this
Right.
episode. You're one to talk, says Sabrina, and she announces to Gav that Max is a racist and a terrorist. Yeah, about that, says Max. But Gav has had enough of these two idiots, and he wanders off to places unknown, and that
Define Beck.
just cracked me up. He's got his hands stuffed in his pockets.
Yep.
He juts his head out for some reason, and he just wanders off, kind of almost into the camera,
Right.
with this kind of goofy expression on his face.
Did you see the video of that actor, like on his first day, walking through Coronation Street and
No.
you know, and talking about farm toys and the creepy baby and the baby doll in the charity shop and swipes a bag of crisps and says, no, I'm a good boy, goes to put them back and he's like, no, I'm not, haha, and he runs away. He's so adorable. I am so glad it seems like Gav and Sabrina are here to stay.
Yeah.
Yes, we would like to keep them, please.
Oh, the pair of them are wonderful, and they've got a lovely little chemistry already. And the more that they interact with Max, the better that the
three
relationship
of them
between
are,
the three
yeah.
of them is. It's just great, and I really don't want to be forgiven of Max
No.
too easily,
Right.
and too simply.
Yeah, which is my only problem with the storyline.
Right. Yeah, it just feels a little too soon. I'm not sure that you've really
Yeah,
paid the price for what you were involved in
right.
too much. But this relationship and the dynamic between
Right.
the three of them is just really, really
It's
good.
great.
Yeah. So Max and Sabrina go to Nina's roles, where Max gets time to explain his grooming by Griff and how he hates everything about what he did, and how Griff managed to exploit his vulnerabilities and
Right.
issues at home.
And it's ADHD.
Yeah, which I'm glad that they remember.
Yes.
Although Sabrina does say, you know what, I've got some friends that got ADHD and they didn't blow anybody up.
Right.
Which is, fair
A
point.
fair point.
He understands that Sabrina doesn't want anything more to do with him, despite the fact that the two of them don't get to be happy too often. "You're a cutie pie," says Sabrina, "and I hope you can turn it round." And she leaves. So Max goes back to the precinct and basically has the same conversation with Gav, with the added apology of going out with a girl that he thought was Beck.
Right.
Gav seems like a decent enough bloke, or just doesn't care one way or the other.
Right.
And the two of them seem to make amends.
Right. But Gav does not call him a cutie pie.
No. Back home, Max opens up to Shona about how his crimes are going to haunt him for the rest of his life. But at that, there's a knock at the door, and it's Sabrina. She's turned up on his doorstep, and she's demanding toast. So,
Good girl.
So I guess somebody must make her toast. And so she and Max are chatting and decide to take things slowly and give it a try. She reckons that if Griff can turn Max into a racist scumbag, maybe she can turn him into a regular mixed-up teenager. Yes, try to change him. That'll work. So she gives him
Always does.
So she gives him a second chance on the proviso that he makes her more toast and doesn't let her down in future. And he says that he won't, and he definitely will. On her way out later, a mysterious figure watches Sabrina leave. They take down their hood, and it's none other than Racist Kelly.
It is Racist Kelly. Dum dum dum.
Dum 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 dum. We last saw Racist Kelly heading off to Devon to live with her mum,
Correct.
and she wanted Max to run off with,
Yes.
and he refused.
He's like, nope, don't want to see you ever again.
So on Wednesday, at Nina's Rolls, a journalist has been in touch with Max about Griff, who is due to be sentenced soon, and Shona advises ignoring it for now. Meanwhile, he's off to spend the day with Sabrina, as opposed to going to school or anything like that.
It's the summer holidays.
Not yet. Not in England, it's not. But as Max is waiting at the tram stop for the second time this week, he's jumped from behind, this time by Racist Kelly, and Max is not pleased to see her.
So he was going to school on the inside with Daniel.
Yes.
How does that work once he gets out? Because I would assume there would be a difference between regular school and juvie school.
Yeah, regular school, they don't lock you up afterwards.
Correct.
That's just one of the differences.
One of many. So I wonder if they just say, well, it's too late to put him back in a regular school for the rest, because there's only like a week left.
I would think that maybe he's going to have problems getting into a regular school, because remember, Weddy High didn't want him after
No.
the upskirting thing.
Right.
Was it the upskirting thing? Or was it the spiking
It was the spiking,
Daniel's drink thing?
Yeah, spiking Amy's drink thing, I think, was more because the principal didn't care at all about the upskirting thing, if you'll remember.
Mrs. Crawshaw, all she cared about was getting into Daniel's pants. Because
Problematic?
she had
Just a little.
problems at home.
Getting into pants.
They go to the community garden and Max asks her what she's doing here. It turns out she's fallen out with her mum, or more precisely, her mum's boyfriend, who thinks that she should get a job.
Oh, no, not a job.
Rather than do that, Racist Kelly ran away in her gym jams back to Weatherfield. She wants nothing more to do with her dad or Griff. It seems that she's knocked the racism on the head after the bomb stuff as well.
Which is interesting, considering that she was indoctrinated from an early age.
Right.
A really early age.
She kind of says something like that, something to that effect later
Right.
on. So Max takes Racist Kelly to Nina's Rolls for a cuppa. Shona is not happy to see her, and neither is Sabrina, who comes in after waiting at the tram stop for 6 or 7 hours on Max, who never showed up. Shona is quick to introduce Sabrina as Max's girlfriend, and introduces Racist Kelly as Max's racist ex-girlfriend. Racist Kelly makes her excuses and leaves, and this lets Sabrina and Max chat about it. Sabrina isn't a jealous type, but they've been going out for 2 minutes, and now his Nazi ex shows up. She's here for the change, she says. He insists that he gets it and wants to make it work with Sabrina, and promises to set Racist Kelly straight and tell her to fuck off. So we go back to the community garden, where Max tells Racist Kelly that he can't help her. He's moved on. Racist Kelly wants to move on too, but says that she can't do it on her own. Back home, Shona tells Max that the police will be coming round to speak to him about Griff's case next week, so we've got that to look forward to. And while Shona's attention is distracted, Max nicks the keys to the salon, and just like actual non-racist Kelly let homeless Jews sleep at the barber's, he lets Racist Kelly sleep at the salon. Racist Kelly is looking for a wee bit of Nazi love to tide her over, but Max puts the kibosh on that and locks Racist Kelly in the salon. Fuck you cow. So on Friday, up with the milkman. That's still a thing. A wee electric milkman cart.
Uh-huh.
When do you ever see them?
Never.
He goes to unlock the salon and let racist Kelly out. She still manages to complain despite the fact that she didn't have to sleep in a bus station last
Right,
night.
yeah, she was complaining about all the creepy ladies on the wall staring at her.
But at her insistence, the ghost of Audrey. But
Not yet!
but at her
Audrey's still alive!
she still has ghosts. But at her insistence, they agree to meet for breakfast.
Nigel Havers.
But he's wise enough to make sure it's not at Nina's Rolls. So at the tram station back from breakfast, Max gets a message from Shona telling him about the police looking for a statement about his grift days. He's unsure about doing it and talks to a passing spider, the person spider, not
Yes.
the arachnid, who says that once grift has been sent down, he can put all this behind him. And Spider doesn't really look back on those days with much fondness either.
Right, yeah. Well, and the important thing is that Shona is calling to let him know that the interview has been moved up to today.
Right now, in fact.
Right now. You're late.
So Max gets home and speaks to the WPC. They are looking for his... Oh, it's actually probably just PC now these days, isn't it? They're looking for his victim personal statement, and he doesn't need to be in court to deliver it. An advocate can do that for him, so he agrees. And Max explains the events of the whole grift storyline to the copper. We've heard it all before, and we've talked about it a million times, so I won't go over it all again here. Most of it, though, seems to be news to Shona, whose memory hasn't been the same since that time she was shot in the stomach. Later, Max meets...
She references that this week, and I'm so glad she did. When he and Sabrina are in Nina's Rolls, and she says, "Oh, hi, Beck," and Max says, "Actually, it's Sabrina," and Shona says, "I may have been shot in the stomach and gotten brain damage and have bad memory, but Beck and Sabrina aren't even close."
Right.
I'm so glad that she remembers that she has brain damage.
Later, Max meets racist Kelly again and gives her a set of keys for the salon. That's a bad idea.
Such a bad idea.
Racist Kelly is grateful and goes in for a quick winch, but he pulls away and she apologises. He tells her that they can only be mates and nothing else. And that's as far as we get with that this week.
She will not take no for an answer.
This is
A bad idea.
Foolish of young Max.
Yes, because this is going to be found out quite quickly. Because the salon is still in business. And she's going to oversleep. Especially since he gave her keys, so he won't be the one waking her up.
And that feels like maybe the best thing that can happen. I think far worse things can probably happen. I don't know what Max owes.
And I think she's still racist.
What does Max owe racist Kelly?
Nothing. But he feels bad because she has a bad home life and he doesn't. He has people who actually love him. But I think her mom loves her. If she just got a job, then the boyfriend would be okay with her. Unless that is just a cover story and there's actually something very untoward about the boyfriend, which statistically there would be.
Sure.
But yeah, he owes her nothing.
I think she had kind of changed her tune a little bit just before she left.
Yeah.
She seemed to be kind of on the road to redemption a little bit.
Right.
But at the end of the day, this is nothing. This is not Max's concern.
No.
It wasn't Max's concern a week ago, so
No.
it's not Max's concern now that she's back in Weatherfield.
Right.
So, being a young man like Max, who's just come out of, for all intents and purposes, jail, and trying to put the past behind him and trying to make up for the past mistakes that he's made, is given this incredible chance of redemption from Sabrina, has something that looks like a future with her, seems to have maybe the best friend that he's ever had in Gav, has
The best person in the show.
has a decent home life and a better relationship with David and with Shona, who
Yes.
is such a lovely mother to him this week
Yes,
as well.
absolutely.
She's so proud of him after he gives his victim personal statement. Why would he put all that in jeopardy for this girl that he kind of knew for a couple of weeks last year?
Hormones. Which is dumb because Sabrina. But and I do think that there's some guilt there because he does have a better home life. The way she kind of lets slip that she's assuming that he's only dating Sabrina so that people will think that he's not racist anymore.
Yeah, which racist Kelly kind of hints at as well.
That's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
She says that. And he says, why do you think that's why I'm with her? And I think that's why she keeps trying to, kiss him and stuff, because she's assuming that that's what he's doing. So she's just playing along until she can get back in his pants.
Yeah. I don't think someone who can be so appalled and disgusted by Darian, remember?
Yeah.
I don't know how she goes so quickly from that to an acceptance of Sabrina.
Right.
Like a few months later.
Right.
I'm not sure how that works, because that was kind of ingrained in her. It was
right. But let's remember, it was Islamophobia that was ingrained in her more than
racism against black people.
Right. Yeah. They were very specific, because let's remember, there was one black guy there at that meeting, and Griff says, "You know what I'm talking about, brother."
But you didn't know what he was talking about.
And the guy says, "Don't look at me, man. I'm just here for the free donuts."
I came here for a leaflet and to have a wee chat with Yasmin. That's what I came here for.
I came here for the Tai Chi.
Yeah, that's very foolish behaviour from Max. And the hormone thing, I would kind of maybe think a few months down the line, but he's literally just got back with Sabrina.
Right.
This week. In fact, kind of the same day.
Yeah.
And to jeopardise that just seems ridiculous. But then to take it further and to give racist Kelly a key to Audrey's property, his great-grand's property, is... I just don't know what he's thinking. And
he's not thinking. He
seemed to be thinking better, but it's just so stupid.
That prefrontal cortex is not fused completely yet.
Do you think we are ever going to meet Beck?
I don't know.
Or is Beck going to be like Maris Crane and just be referred to and never seen?
Or Howard's mom on Big Bang Theory.
Mrs. Wolowitz, yeah.
Yes. Although we do see her back once.
Vera from Cheers. We see her full body, but she's got a pumpkin pie in her face. So you don't actually see her face. Do we ever see Maris? Do you ever see any part of her? I think we might. Anyway,
I love her.
This is not a Frasier podcast.
Not yet.
Let's move on to our next storyline then, which is Dooking for Salvation. On Monday, Paul has spilled his nutty clusters.
But not like that.
Bernie comes in and suggests that she gives their flat a proper bottoming as a way to apologise for
like that.
whatever shite she pulled last week, and just generally to help out a bit.
She ought to be careful using the term bottoming when she goes into a gay couple's apartment.
It was almost like it was there to give a little bit of a fna.
Right.
It's also the title of this week's episode. She wants to be useful, which allows Paul and Billy to go out. So they go to the pub where they run into Dee Dee, who's been there all day. Dee Dee on Monday was in the pub all day.
It was her day off. Where else was she supposed to be?
The conversation drifts to bucket lists, but Paul isn't interested in anything flash, and in fact would love to just have a good old game of old-fashioned darts. Todd is there, and Gemma has a word with him, as an idea to give Paul the day he wants is just formed in her head. And so everyone agrees to play Paul at darts, with everyone else playing with their wrong hand. Typically, Todd tries to pull the wool over their eyes by pretending to be left-handed, but Billy knows better, and no one thinks to ask why. It's a hoot and a half, and Paul has a great laugh with his pals. Back at the flat, though, Gemma goes to the fridge to get them a couple of beers and finds one of Bernie's crystals hidden behind the cheese. She whispers to Gemma to put it back in place, and she's hidden tons of them round about the place. She says that Billy has his faith, and she has hers, and Gemma promises to keep stum about it. On Wednesday, Gemma and Bernie are chatting about the offers for donation they've been getting for Paul's fund, but neither of them reckon that Paul will be up for any white knighting. Bernie remembers the ice bucket challenge and then gets a chilli in her eye. What a tube. And this gives Gemma an idea, and me and the show kind of seemed to think the same thing, that rather than have an ice bucket challenge, have a stick chili in your eye challenge. I thought that's what she was talking about. But she doesn't think that. It's a chili challenge to see, I guess, the hottest chili that people can eat.
Or how many chilies a person can eat.
As Gemma and Bernie explain this at Billy's, Bernie continues to hide more crystals around about the house. It's a great way to allow people to help, and Paul thinks if it gives Bernie something to do and gets her off his back, it's worth doing it. In the pub, Billy knows it doesn't sit comfortably with Paul to accept his help, but Paul is genuinely happy that Bernie has knocked the crystals thing on the head.
Or has she?
But during their chat, Paul announces that he sees himself as a heathen and he's never been christened or anything like that, and this makes Billy's jaw drop.
It does.
Turns out Gemma and Paul were blessed at a festival somewhere by a wizard.
Wait. Yeah, accurate.
They were due to be baptised by a vicar, but Paul had the chicken pox, so missed it, which means we're to believe that he didn't give the chicken pox to his twin sister, but whatever. On Friday at Billy's, he and Paul are comparing plans for the day. Paul is meeting with Dee Dee for lunch, and Billy has checked his diary for the return of Christ, but it's looking empty for today. He invites Paul to the church later to baptise him. Paul thinks he's joking, then he really thinks he's joking, and then he realises that he's not joking.
He is not.
Paul puts his foot down. He doesn't want to do it, and he doesn't want baptised neither. Todd finds a forlorn Billy in Nina's rolls. What's up? Asks Todd. Paul's not been baptised, says Billy, in the same way as he would say, Paul shoved Mike. Todd makes light of Billy, who takes a huff and leaves.
Right, yes. Yes.
Thin-skinned Billy or what?
Well,
really?
I can see Billy's point. He is freaking a man of the cloth, for Pete's sake. And both his ex and his current partner both think God is stupid. Mm-hmm. So I can understand why Billy is frustrated and his feelings are hurt. I think my feelings would be hurt too.
But this should not be news.
Fortunately, though, you've been christened.
This should not be news to Billy.
Well, maybe it has never come up. Then that's fine. I mean, were you ever baptized isn't really a question that comes up very often.
No, but their thoughts about religion might do if your job is being a vicar or
Right.
an archdeacon.
Right. Well, he knows and seems to accept Paul's atheism, but he seems to believe that all you have to do to go to heaven is get baptized.
Yes, this seems to be what develops in the storyline.
So Billy hasn't really read his Bible recently?
No. Or
Ever?
really at all.
What do you think is going on, Billy? More and more, I share Den's frustration that the show seems to not understand Christianity at all, or what vicars do, or archdeacons.
And it's all right for the show not to understand it, but it's not really all right for an archdeacon to not understand it.
Right, yeah. And since the show is writing that archdeacon, it's not all right for the show to not understand it.
And in the rows later, Paul talks to Dee Dee, who talks about her church going when she was in LA. LA has churches? And she talks about her connection with God. Paul,
That's where that fancy church that Chris Pratt and that Arnold Schwarzenegger's daughter goes to is in LA.
Sure.
The Hillsong one.
Paul is jealous of their faith. He doesn't know what to believe in, but Paul's interest is piqued when Dee Dee tells him about a Disney-themed baptism that she attended. Fucking California, eh? The discussion continues in the Rovers, and it seems that lots of people have had stupid baptisms, and not all of them were in California. There was a circus one. Paul still seems...
Where they jumped from the high dive into a pool to be baptized.
Paul...
What the hell is this? What the hell does this show think Christianity is?
If Paul had shoved Mike into a puddle,
Would that
Mike
be baptism?
baptized? Maybe it would have been.
Well, it's like Todd suggesting that Billy just sprinkle on Paul in his sleep, but not like that.
Oh. Baptized with cum?
Or pee.
Oh, that sounds like a Cannibal Corpse song, doesn't it?
I was thinking more urine, but...
Oh, okay.
Because that's a liquid. Cum's not really a liquid. It's a viscous.
Viscous.
Yeah.
Well, with any look at us. Paul still isn't sure that soul salvation is on his bucket list. Indeed, he tells him to tell Billy how he feels.
Which didn't he already?
Yeah.
When he told Billy to fuck off and he didn't want to be baptized?
Right.
They've already had this conversation.
I think he was
Dee
kinda
Dee.
clear on it.
Catch up.
Dee Dee leaves and Todd arrives. Todd explains how Billy has a bucket of sand under his foreskin thanks to Paul shoving Mac and not wanting to be baptised. Paul asks for Todd's advice. Todd isn't sure, but says funerals aren't for the dead, which is useful because no one was talking about funerals. But I think what he's saying is the funeral is a kind of distraction from the fact that your loved one has passed
Yeah,
away.
and it gives you a chance to say goodbye to your loved one.
And Billy's fixation with baptism is a kind of distraction from the fact that Paul is not long off this earth.
Right. That he's going to die and he needs to have something that he can do.
Later at home, Paul has cooked dinner. Billy is very impressed.
One-handed.
Paul talks about his conversation with Dee Dee about baptism, and he's decided that he's not completely against that idea if it would make Billy happy. And Billy says, don't do it just to make me happy. And Paul says, no, I'm doing it to make me happy because making you happy would make me happy. So that still kind of means that he's doing it to make Billy happy.
Right, yeah.
He's just not entirely on board with it just yet. And this seems good enough for Billy, who thanks Paul anyway. And that's as far as we get with that this week.
Yes, and Paul is wearing Billy's yellow apron.
Yeah. And Den Lives One was not impressed by that. That
No.
apron has been ruined forever now. So here we have the conflicting, I guess,
Faith.
Yes. Bernie with her crystals and Billy with God.
Well,
And
the Christian God.
right. And Paul does not seem keen on either. But this is what I don't like about it. The whole doing it to make either one of them happy. Both of them should be doing things to make Paul happy in these final days or weeks
Well,
or months
they
or
do
whatever.
seem to be doing that as well, like with the one-handed darts.
I don't think they're making them happy with all this chat and with the crystal stuff.
Well, as Todd says, this is to ease their pain with his death. But
God, if you can't make your own death about you, what can you do it? We just seem determined to complicate Paul's demise.
right,
And this is actually a little bit less rent than the car theft and stuff that we really
right.
could have done
yeah,
without.
I'm glad that's done.
This is actually part of it that makes a little bit more sense than all that stuff.
Right.
But I don't know. It just makes me a little bit uncomfortable that Paul is having to adjust his own beliefs. Just, are we going to get a deathbed conversion here? Because that's not a great look.
Well, it's also not a great look, the idea that Paul's going to get baptized just to make Billy happy and
Well,
not because
that's
of
exactly
a
right.
true declaration of faith,
Mm-hmm.
which is what it should be, you know. And that's all it is, folks. It's just a declaration of your faith. It does not save you. It does not save your soul. So shut up, Billy.
Well,
Read your Bible.
if you're apt to believe any of that. The Disney baptism does sound like it could be quite good fun, though. I think I need more information than that part of it.
Right. Yeah, because it's like the preacher dressed up like Sebastian the Crab. I hope he didn't do the Jamaican accent because I'm assuming it's a white guy. But so many questions.
Yeah, so many questions. It's lovely to see Gemma doing so much to make Paul happy. That aspect of it, the bits that we got on Monday, I thought were great. That the construction of a bucket list, that feels like a good storyline for Paul, doesn't it? He
Yes.
has his bucket list and he's trying to get through as many of them as possible. It sounds like it maybe is a bit expensive, but he said that his tastes are cheap.
Right.
What he wants is to have a beer and to play darts with his pals. So
Right.
it seems to be, it's not like skydiving or climbing Kilimanjaro
that's
or
Ken.
anything like that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and somebody says Vegas, and he's like, I don't need to go to Vegas. I would be just as happy going. Where did he say? It wasn't Blackpool, but it was someplace you can gamble in the United Kingdom, which I guess is everywhere. Well, someplace with casinos. Where's a place with
Yeah, they're probably everywhere. You just need a license from the council.
Right, yeah, but like a casino.
Yeah.
Not like a little one-room shack with...
And know what a casino is, Helen. They do have them in Scotland.
Right, yes, but like big major ones
Yes,
aren't in every
they
town.
do have them in Scotland,
Yeah,
though.
but they're not in every town.
No, because you need a license from the council, and the council is
Right.
kind of hesitant to give those things out because of the sort of things that casinos attract.
Right, yes.
Sometimes.
The only thing I saw in Scotland was that one in your mum's town that we walked by the restaurant, which isn't really a casino. It was just like a betting
that's
lounge.
a bookmakers.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't get bookmakers here,
No,
so that's why Helen doesn't know what a bookmaker is.
this is true.
Again, this is not a gambling podcast
Isn't it?
or a Fraser podcast or very much of a Coronation Street podcast. All right, let's move on then to our penultimate storyline, which is Tim's mum about the house.
Huzzah!
I thought we were going to get another murder this week.
I think we came close.
On Monday, in the lovely flat, Tim's mum is doom scrolling on her phone when she spots an ad for a Tai Chi class in the community centre. There's an introductory class for the over 50s tonight, and she'd love to go.
Wait,
Knock yourself out, says Stephen.
before that, she's in the Rovers, and she gets the idea to doom scroll for the Tai Chi thing from Jenny, who suggests dancing classes, and she says, "Oh well, I'm not one for dancing."
Yeah, I didn't think that detail was worth mentioning.
Well, I enjoyed that part where it was just like ladies in the Rovers talking about weddings and dancing and floral dresses and stuff.
There you go.
I enjoyed that part.
That's a saved time claimed back. But Tim's mum was hoping this would be something they could do together. Oh, pig's tits, says Stephen. So later, they're on their way to the stupid class when they run into Jenny, who seems to be a bit of a fan of Tai Chi. Come with us, says Stephen a little bit too eagerly. But Tim's mum points out that Jenny has plans to get pumped by Owen tonight. Jenny walks off for her pumping, leaving Stephen looking at her all forlorn. On Wednesday at home, Tim's mum is doing Tai Chi to New World music while Stephen pesters Owen with text messages, and he snaps at her, whittering on about fucking Tai Chi as he's trying to concentrate. He quickly apologises and then heads off for work, and Tim's mum is very disappointed in this.
He's so weird. You would think a guy who's murdered 3 people would know at this point how to keep his cool and understand that pestering somebody over and over and over again via text message is not going to get that person to keep his job.
I think it's the fact he's got this into his head that Owen is toying with him, is deliberately ignoring his messages. It's not that Owen's not getting these messages, it's Owen is getting these messages and isn't going to satisfy him by giving him a response.
Right, yeah, because he does
Which
not
is
deserve
hilarious.
him. He does not owe him anything, Owen.
Oh,
Owen
no.
owes him nothing.
And you know, if Stephen is such a hotshot businessman, the one thing that you learn is business is business.
Right, and also don't be so overeager.
At the factory, Stephen is leaving more messages with Owen. Stephen finds this humiliating. There's no Canadian would dare treat him like this. Michael suggests more crawling. Stephen says that he misses Canada. And Michael points out that, you know, if you don't get this sorted out with Owen, you're going to lose your job. Yeah, thanks for that, Michael.
Right.
Says Stephen.
So maybe move back to Canada.
Later, Tim's, which you should have done months
ago.
Later, Tim's mum, who doesn't work at the factory, turns up at the factory looking for Stephen, but meets Michael instead. Michael thinks it'll take more than Tai Chi to cheer Stephen up. Realising that he's about to put his foot in it, Michael quickly backtracks, but then rather than saying that he's about to lose his job, tells Tim's mum that Stephen is homesick. In the pub, Jenny thinks Stephen is looking for Owen, but Stephen is just trying to clear the air about the mess that he made with Owen about the relationship with Jenny, and Jenny promises to have a word with Owen when she realises that Stephen might lose his job over this. On Friday, in Nina's Rolls, Stephen and Tim's mum bump into Jenny, who tells Stephen that Owen said no, and Tim's mum is annoyed when Stephen doesn't offer a full explanation of what that was all about.
Right?
It's Canadian 4th of July tomorrow. Canada Day, and some of Stephen's Canadian friends have sent him a video, and he admits to feeling a little homesick, which is what Michael said yesterday.
Right.
So Stephen gets to the factory where he still currently works, desperate to know if Carla and Owen were close to finalising their deal. Wouldn't you like to know, Bobag, says Carla. Owen is not pleased to see Stephen and thinks it's low to get Jenny involved in their business dealings. Stephen says his firing will be to Underworld's detriment and invites Owen to his flat at lunchtime to discuss Stephen's business acumen and to listen to the new Huey Lewis and the News album. Their early work was a little too new wave for Stephen's tastes, but when Spokes came out in '83, he thought that they really came into their own commercially and artistically. The whole album has a clear, crisp sound and a new sheen of consummate professionalism that really gives the songs a big boost. He's been compared to Elvis Costello, but Stephen thinks Huey has a far more bitter, cynical sense of humour.
I don't think that's true.
About what?
I think Elvis Costello is far more cynical and dark in his lyrics than Huey Lewis or the News.
Well, of course. But that's the point.
Haha.
Patrick's wrong about everything.
That's true.
Yeah. So Owen shows up at the flat and Stephen goes through his resume of experience and knowledge. Owen doesn't. That whole thing was an American Psycho joke, by the way. So Owen shows up at the factory and Stephen
Thank
goes
you for
through
explaining your joke.
His-
That makes it so much funnier.
his resume of experience and knowledge. Owen doesn't buy it and doesn't trust Stephen and doesn't think Seagull exists and reckons Stephen is embezzling money and has been stirring things between him and Jenny deliberately. Stephen fills with rage, his fists clench, and just before he's looking for a hole punch, Tim's mum, Sarah, Audrey and Michael jump out. Surprise! It's
Happy Canada Day!
And they're all decked out in Canadian garb, looking very much like Canadians on a foreign holiday.
And wearing antlers in their hats. Audrey pours a glass and looks like she's going to hand it to Stephen, but instead she drinks it.
That was hilarious.
Because the show remembers that Audrey's supposed to be an alcoholic.
And isn't that funny? It actually is kind of funny. Tim's mum, having heard all of this,
Right.
is far from happy. Owen thinks they're all fucking Fruit Loops and announces that thanks to Stephen's weirdness, he's going to pull out of buying the factory. He will, though, honour the nipper-snapper deals because he's not all bad. Everyone leaves and Stephen's mood has improved, but Tim's mum is still worried that he has feelings for Jenny. Stephen laughs it off and says that he never really had feelings for her in the first place, and to prove it, he suggests that they go to Jenny's pub.
Yeah.
In the pub, Stephen sits with Tim's mum for about a minute before going off to speak to Carla. She reckons that he had something to do with Owen pulling out and now demands to have a
But
meeting
not like that.
with the Seagull people. but not those kind of Seagull people. Stephen agrees to set something up.
It's like people with seagull heads.
It's a meeting of the Knicker people and the Seagull people.
The whole French fry supply in Manchester would be decimated.
Dave's would be inundated.
Chips. Not French fries.
You can say either.
Okay.
Stephen agrees to set something up. Carla, though, wants the meeting tomorrow.
Dum dum dum.
And that's as far as we get with that.
So
this
he
week.
has to go with a big net and start hooking seagulls from the local dump.
Kind of reminds me of the seagulls that we saw at Niagara Falls.
Yes.
Hundreds of them.
Yes.
Because lots of tourists eating things that they throw
Right.
to the seagulls that then
Right.
fight over the little scraps.
And then they poop on Tesla's head.
Did we ever go to the Burger King in Stirling?
No.
It's like every seagull in the world hangs out at the Burger King at Springkers Industrial Estate. And they just wait for people to throw a chip out of their car. And you get hundreds of them. It's at the point where you're scared to get out of your car to go to the garbage can to get rid of your trash. Because there's just so many seagulls
Right.
that know that you've got food.
Right. I'm trying to imagine how I would feel if I came to Scotland and you took me to a Burger King.
I took you to a kebab shop.
That's because we have no kebab shops here.
Oh, true.
You did take me to that awful Mexican restaurant, though.
It was good.
It was not.
It was under new management. It was still good, though.
It was good if you've never had actual Mexican food before.
I'll come away with you. So Stephen kind of gets what he wants here. Owen isn't going to buy the factory anymore,
Right.
but this means that Carla still wants to sell.
Right.
She just can't sell to Owen.
And now Carla is very, very suspicious.
Yeah, we've kind of forgotten, or we've been allowed to forget, that Carla doesn't trust Stephen 1 inch.
No, and nor
didn't-
should she.
She didn't trust him beforehand, and she certainly doesn't trust him now. So he's kind of gone out of the frying pan in one way and into a different kind of fire
Another
in
way.
another way
Yeah.
with Carla, because she's right.
Yeah.
And Owen was right.
Yeah,
Seagull isn't a thing.
right.
A cursory Google search would have surely
Right.
confirmed that.
Yes.
He is embezzling money to pay for...
What a stupid name to give your fake company.
I wondered
What is
if it
that
was
even
an-
supposed to mean?
I wonder if it was an anagram or something, but it's not.
Or if it is an actual consulting firm, you know, if he Googled actual consulting firms and found one named Seagull. And is it Seagull like a seagull, or
Yeah.
is it like Steven Seagal?
No, it's not
Is it
Seagal
spelled Seagal?
consultancy. No, it's a seagull.
Or like Jason Seagull,
No,
which is also not spelled seagull.
no, it's still seagull.
It's Seagull. Have we ever seen it spelled out?
I don't know any other way I can tell you this.
It's
We've seen it spelled out.
have we?
Yeah,
Where?
when Stephen was checking his online banking to make sure that the payment had gone through for Tim's mum's life
Oh,
insurance.
that's right. See, if he had made it something like Jason Seagull, if it was Seagel,
Wait a minute.
that would be more
Why is
believable.
Hollywood superstar Jason Segel paying for Tim's mum's life insurance?
And
That
also
would be more
Dancing with-
believable.
and also, it's Dancing with Muppets. It would be a more believable name for the company than Seagull. It would be less suspicious in my mind than something that's obviously made up.
It could have easily been Steven Seagal, though, because he's teaming up with Putin, isn't he?
Yeah, supposedly Putin is going to make him his new general because the other guy quit in disgrace over the coup thing that didn't happen.
And wasn't a thing. Probably not.
So many things in this world. No wonder we were all obsessed with that whole submarine thing.
Right. Oh well.
Much lower stakes than, World War III. Or not being able to pay your student loans.
Oh yeah, that's back.
Yeah, or
Wah.
or abolishing gay marriage, or not letting black people go to college anymore.
Land of the free.
Home of the brave.
Happy 4th, everybody. I'm wondering, he's got 24 hours to come up with something. He normally
Right.
thinks pretty fast on his feet, so I'm sure he'll come up with some way. Whether
Is he
that's him
gonna have-
just putting on a voice or
Puppets.
maybe.
He said like a Zoom. Well, I have like a Zoom call with puppets,
I just wish he would hurry up and kill again. Because
or leave.
his insistence on killing incidental characters rather than somebody who's been on the show for any length of time.
I think Leo had been there for a while.
A year.
Yeah.
He'd been in it for a year. But he
And he
hadn't,
was
been,
gonna-
hadn't been in it for a year. He'd been in it for a couple of
And
weeks
he
and,
was
then had been
gonna-
off for a while.
And he was going to marry Jenny. He was an important character.
Yeah.
He was going to kill Owen, though. It really kind of felt like the whole, let's meet in my apartment alone with no one else around.
Yeah.
Can I get you a coffee?
Or let's talk about Huey Lewis in the news somewhere. Yeah, I think the worst thing that can happen for Stephen, though, is for Carla to get her teeth into this because she is just not going to let it go. And he's already tried to kill her and couldn't.
Right.
So to keep the Steven Seagal thing going, Carla's a little bit hard to kill. Yes.
That's true. She's got him by the ball bags.
For a second there, I was trying to think of, did Steven Seagal star in a movie called Ball Bags? And if not, why not? I think I saw a documentary about him where he said that he washed his hands before he urinates and after, because he doesn't want any germs on the wee general.
Well, That's understandable.
That's an interesting tack.
I wish more men were careful about their penises. In more ways than one.
Wish all men were more careful with their penises. You can always be more careful. Where did I put? Okay.
It's right there.
Our final storyline tonight is how we going to retcon this. On Monday, Roy goes round to see Evelyn with some template documentation for custody of a dog and a suggestion of having a joint bank account for expenses. Evelyn thinks it's too much, but on having a look at the proposed schedule, it looks like Roy has organised Freddie's care around his hobbies, which includes going to historical societies with Yasmin. Evelyn is not amused, but is forced into agreeing by Tyrone, who just wants them to stop talking about this, I think.
Right, and also loves Freddie more than either one of them do.
Seriously. Later, Roy and Yasmin are chatting about boring stuff in Nina's roles, while a storm rages outside and Evelyn comes in with Freddie, both of them looking like drowned rats. Yasmin goes over to coo over Freddie until Yasmin insists that he bites. Roy takes the dog and offers to make
Not Yasmin.
Evelyn a cuppa.
Evelyn insists that he bites.
This leaves Yasmin and Evelyn chatting. Evelyn
Awkwardly.
hates every minute. Yasmin doesn't seem to notice, but when Roy comes back with a towel for her, he does seem to notice that Evelyn isn't okay. Yasmin heads off and Evelyn imagines Stu will be missing her, but Yasmin says Stu is too busy for that these days. Oh, trouble in paradise.
Well, no, he went off to like some guitar festival or something, or to show his bob bags on Ted Lasso.
Back home, Hope is helping with the dishes and has noticed that Evelyn has been quiet all through dinner. Privately, Tyrone sidles up and knows exactly why she's in the mood. She's jealous of Yasmin getting some quality Roy time. Evelyn insists that her only concern is the dog. Sure, says Tyrone as he scratches his chin. And Roy comes over later with a revised schedule that still favours his nights with Yasmin at the Historical Society. Evelyn warns him of taking up too much time with new friends like Yasmin, and he asks if there's a problem. Again, Evelyn says her priority is Freddie, who doesn't seem to like Yasmin, and Roy's left super confused.
Right, and also Roy put Evelyn down on a night when she has her bridge club, and he knows that. Shame on him.
God damn it, Roy. On Wednesday, Roy and Freddie walk by a mysterious stranger as Roy heads to Evelyn to drop the dog off. She's still pissed off about Roy's friendship with Yasmin, which causes further irritation when he asks for Freddie to be returned by 4 p.m. when he intends to go on a historical walk around the area with Yasmin. This reaction does not go unnoticed by Tyrone. Then later, Kev is back.
With a new jacket.
A lovely new leather jacket. Evelyn tells him that she was sorry to hear about his dad dying 5 years ago. He and Tyrone arrange to meet for beers later while a mysterious figure watches Evelyn from further down the street. At 4 p.m, Yasmin and Roy are ready to head out when Evelyn turns up to hand over Freddie. She takes an eternity to splutter through a seemingly prepared pretend off-the-cuff speech where she asks Yasmin and Roy to join her for an early bird's dinner at the bistro later. Yasmin is happy to agree, and Roy is too busy looking at a map so doesn't even know what he's been signed up for, but says yes anyway. Evelyn leaves Nina's Rolls where she's seen by the mysterious figure as she walks away, and it looks all the world like Evelyn doesn't see the figure, or deliberately doesn't see the figure. So when the figure turns and walks away themselves, and Evelyn doubles back for a better look, we know which of those is correct. At home, Tyrone finds Evelyn in a reflective mood as she peels some spuds, but not like that, for the girls' dinner. Tyrone isn't interested in dinner because Kev has also turned up with beers, and they all chat about Evelyn third-wheeling at the bistro, but she's in no mood for this, and leaves. And no sooner has she stepped out when she gets a call from the hospital. Meanwhile, Roy and Yasmin are at the bistro, and there's no sign of their third wheel, which doesn't seem to stop Yasmin and Roy cracking on with the vino. And then Roy gives Evelyn a call to see where she's at.
Roy is drinking orange juice, not vino.
Yes.
And Yasmin knows more about wine than she's letting on.
She knows everything about wine.
I know, it was weird.
After cracking Tim's dad over the head with a bottle, she seems to be quite the connoisseur.
Mm-hmm.
But Evelyn has to dingy Roy's call because she's at the hospital where she asks to see Cassandra Plummer, who was the mysterious figure. Evelyn waits in the waiting room filled with mothers and daughters just for plot purposes. Cassandra has been found unresponsive on the street. The doc says she was out of her tits on some heroin substitute, Preamble. which Evelyn says was what she was trying to get her off last Christmas. Last Christmas, she disappeared to see a friend,
Right.
and only turned up on the street for Tyrone's wedding.
Yes.
And I was like, I can't believe we're finally closing off that bit of a mystery, because
Yes.
it didn't really draw all that much attention to itself. Evelyn said that she was off seeing a friend, and we thought, well, this is just an excuse because she was doing her one-woman thing.
Right.
So that was just the cover for that, but they've cleverly brought that back.
Yes.
And paid that off.
Bravo, show.
And I'm really, really pleased that they did that.
Yes.
Because there's lots of people who are like, well, what happened last Christmas? Well, exactly. She wasn't
Right.
there last Christmas. She just
Right.
turned up for the wedding.
Right.
The doc tells Evelyn where she can find Cassandra. Evelyn looks like she's about to leave, though, until she sees her own face in the mirror at the back of an elevator. And obviously that's enough to prick at her conscience. Meanwhile, at home, Roy and Yasmin turn up at Tyrone's worried about Evelyn. If she's not here, though, then where is she? And then
Dum dum dum.
Evelyn goes to see her daughter in what was an 8.5-minute scene that took up more than 2/3, 4/5 of the final part of the show, just as one scene.
And it was so brilliant.
I'm not suggesting for a moment that it was done in one take, but it was one scene of just Evelyn and Cassandra together, and she's in the bed and Evelyn sitting waiting for her to wake up.
It was brilliant.
It was unbelievably good. Let's deal with the elephants in the room, though, before we start talking about it.
Yes.
Cassie is Tyrone's age, or thereabouts,
There is 12 years difference.
in real life.
In real life, there's 12 years difference. Cassie had him at 16. So that's only a 4-year difference from what she was supposed to be at the time.
Yes.
So it's not that unbelievable.
Well,
and
it-
also,
well,
Sarah
well-
had a baby at 12.
Well, it is that unbelievable because Claire Sweeney does not look like she's 12 years older than Tyrone. They look all the world like they're the same age.
Right. Because there was only 16 years between them.
I don't know if you're
So she's-
deliberately missing my point.
Well, no, I get your point, but for me, it's believable because she was basically a kid herself when she had him. So I have no problem with it.
Elephant number 1. Elephant number 2, Cassie's teeth are far too good for a junkie.
I mean, she's not on meth. Heroin doesn't really mess up your teeth.
It doesn't make them great.
Yeah, I mean, it's like
They're
living
like
off the
super
street.
white.
Yeah, but I mean, this is a television show.
Well, you can.
Homeless Stu had perfect, beautiful white teeth, and he had been homeless for a long time.
Well, and so did Abby.
Yeah. It's a show.
It's like
We don't care.
Homeless people and junkies all
Perfect teeth.
perfect dentistry.
Right.
Anyway, there's
They're
clearly
British and they have perfect teeth.
there you go. There's clearly no love lost between mother and daughter. Evelyn claims that she is only here to find out how she knew where Evelyn lives. Or maybe she just found the address in her bag when she was stealing money. Evelyn knows not to keep cash on her when Cassie is around. Cassie says that she was looking for money from her today, but not for drugs, and she only scored when Evelyn ignored her. Evelyn is not about to accept blame for this. Yeah, walk away like you always do, said Cassie, and that just pushes Evelyn's buttons because walking away is the last thing that she does. And as they pick at old scabs, it seems that Evelyn got Cassie clean at Christmas, but ran off to be at Tyrone's wedding. And Tyrone is a name that she's very careful to avoid saying here.
Right.
But Cassie has already seen one Tyrone Dobbs, who helped her out with a couple of quid, and they had a chat about how long he'd lived there and how Evelyn was his gran. And if Evelyn is his gran, well, I guess that makes Cassie his mother.
Dum dum dum.
As far as Cassie was concerned, her baby was snatched from her and left on the doorstep of a police station, but as it turns out, her long-lost son was the person who gave her the cash to overdose on, just like a Greek tragedy. But then she admits that the Tyrone story never happened. He never gave her money, and it seems to have been Kev who spilled the beans instead. Evelyn says that she knows she would have destroyed Tyrone, and she's making up for it now. Cassie wants to get to know Tyrone, but Evelyn tells her he thinks that she's dead, which was probably true at the time as far as Evelyn was concerned. Evelyn goes to leave, but Cassie says she wants to get better and needs her mum's help, but Evelyn doesn't have the energy to be let down again. Her heart won't take it, she says. And she says, I'm 74 or I'm 77.
77.
Her heart won't take it, and she goes to leave again. Cassie tells her that she loves her. Then stay away, says Evelyn. Stay away from Tyrone. And then she finally does leave. And there's no real way
Such a
of
great
conveying
scene.
how good that scene was without seeing how
was
good that
so
scene
good.
was.
So good. It just, Maureen Lipman can do everything.
She really can't. And it's the complexity of her character
Yeah.
where there are so many levels to her, because there's a level to her anger, because she's very angry.
Right.
But she's also got the part of her where she's a mother to this girl.
Yes.
And she has still a kind of instinct there to still care so much to be disappointed.
Right.
And you pick up on that.
Yes.
Without her having to say it explicitly, you get the depth of emotion that is being played with here. Mm-hmm. It's just fantastically done. And I want to give some props as well to Claire Sweeney, who was great, but Claire Sweeney was in a bed
Right.
and in the show for one day.
Right.
What we're seeing from Maureen Lipman here is every moment of that character
Yes.
that we've seen over the past few years
Yes.
build up to this. This is
Yes.
where that storyline has been going
This whole
all
time.
this time.
Right.
And to deliver as well as it did. Oh my God. I thought they were going to have the whole of that last part, and it kind of deserved it. But what we got from that was just
Amazing.
so many years worth of miscommunication and disappointments
anger
and
and
anger.
resentment
Oh,
and exhaustion.
I want to get to know him. I want to meet him. He thinks you're dead. Oh. From Cassandra's point of view, who I guess has just found out today that Tyrone is there and has
Right.
been living with her mum.
And his
all
name's
this time.
Tyrone.
Right, and what he's right, all of that.
Right.
To find that out, and also to find out that he thinks that you're dead.
Right. And also, just the emotion of Evelyn saying, in fairness, I thought you were dead.
Mm-hmm. She went off to South Africa with
Right.
her junkie mates.
Right. Your junkie boyfriend, and never heard from you and never saw you again. So as far as I knew, you really were dead. Mm-hmm. And I mean, everybody who has ever loved an addict can put themselves in that room.
Right.
I feel like they so very clearly understand and accurately portray what a mother of an addict would say and feel and experience and express at that time.
I thought they picked up on that brilliantly, because every time Evelyn goes to leave, Cassie's able to say one thing that makes her
Right.
turn around.
Yeah.
And whether that's accusing her of being, this is all your fault, or
Right.
you always walk away,
Right.
or saying that I love you,
Right.
she knows how to press her mother's
Right.
buttons.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just like any addict. You know
Yes.
how to get what you want from people.
Right.
Because it's all about you, right?
Right.
Oh, it's just such an amazing scene.
And can we talk about the makeup here? Because they have made Claire Sweeney a gorgeous woman, minus the whole teeth thing.
Right.
They make her look like she's been living rough.
Yeah, they've done a really good job
They've
on that.
done a great job on that.
And I think they've done it because kind of less is more.
Right.
They've not made her filthy. They've made her a bit grubby.
And haggard.
Right.
And saggy.
And I think by not over-egging it, it makes it work so much better.
Yes.
Yeah, just
Ugh.
incredible stuff.
2 thumbs up.
Oh. So Evelyn gets home and Tyrone has been out of his mind with worry. Evelyn claims that she's been at bingo with a friend, but Tyrone's not buying it. He thinks that she's jealous about Roy and Yasmin, and Evelyn deflects to the state of the room with Kev's beers lying around, which sets Tyrone off cleaning and allows Evelyn to look pensive. On Friday, Ruby has suddenly become a giant.
Not really.
She's sprouted
Yes.
so much since she was last on the screen.
Yes. But she's still our Ruby.
And absolutely adorable.
Absolutely. And Hope and Stu's granddaughter, who's
Eliza.
Hope and Eliza seem to have made up, and Eliza has forgiven her for the whole volcano thing, apparently.
Yeah, and Eliza was staying over that night.
Right. She stayed over, and they seem to be friends now.
Well, that's nice, isn't it, Helen?
It is nice.
So
It is nice. So nobody speaks to Sam anymore.
Hope and Eliza have breakfast and chat about which musical character they would be. Evelyn, meanwhile, dingies a call from an unknown number. Tyrone is run ragged with getting kids ready for school, housework, and the girls' homework. So Evelyn offers to help out with the homework stuff, and she says that she'll take the kids to school. What a lifesaver.
Tyrone says, "Your favorite musical?" And then the kids say he's too old for it.
Which is what?
The one with the kids who are gangsters.
Oh, Bugsy Malone.
Bugsy Malone. So then he has to say Greatest Showman.
Abby, Kev, and a rosy-cheeked Alfie are in Dev's. Abby is complaining about a headache, so Evelyn offers to get her some paracetamol, but Abby declines, saying she doesn't want to risk falling off the wagon. That's right, Evelyn. Abby was a hopeless junkie, just like your daughter. So later, when Abby and Evelyn bump into each other, Evelyn asks how long Abby has been clean, which Abby can recite to the day. 1,002 days sober for me, thank you very much. And then starts asking reasonable questions in an inappropriate manner, asking why this time will work when the others didn't. Abby gracefully and patiently explains that the people around her giving her a chance, and people loving her despite her disease, and having Alfie and having Kev, all gives her something to be sober for. And this gives Evelyn food for thought, but the way that she asked
Right.
kind of rubs Abby up the wrong way a little bit.
And it is very reasonable, because she's like, why is this child different from your other children? Are you saying that your other children weren't worth it?
Right.
You know, she makes good points. But you're right. Her tone is very Evelyn.
So Evelyn goes to the hospital after this to see Cassie, but is shocked to find that Cassie has already signed herself out. So Evelyn goes into Nina's rolls and receives some gentle quizzing from Yasmin and Roy about her whereabouts yesterday when she dinged the meal. Evelyn tells Yasmin to keep her beak out of her business and leaves. And Yasmin is actually a bit hurt by this, and Roy calls Evelyn's display spiky, even by Evelyn's standards. So Evelyn gets home and is surprised to see Tyrone there, and then is further surprised to see Cassie sitting in the living room, bald as brass and likely high as fuck. She's pretending to be Kath, an old friend of Evelyn's here to see her. Evelyn covers by saying that Kath is a friend of James, her old neighbour. She sends Tyrone back to the garage and then gets stuck into Cassie, looking for a big reunion while looking like shite, she says. Evelyn says that she was going to tell Tyrone about Cassie after Christmas. Cassie says that she was going to come clean but lost her nerve and thinks Tyrone is better not knowing who she is. And strangely, Evelyn thinks that she needs to get clean first and is willing to help, but says that she does need to know who Tyrone is. So Evelyn bursts into Dev's and asks for a loan for $5,000. Roy has followed her in, concerned about her. Dev can loan her 50 quid and isn't too happy with her anyway for disappearing during her shift. Evelyn tells him to shove his shift up his arse.
Right
up his arse! And then storms out. Evelyn goes to see Roy at Nina's Rolls. He apologises for intruding on her private conversation with Dev, but offers her the money if she wants it. Evelyn is close to being overcome with emotion, but tells him that she can't do that.
Tears.
Yeah, oof. And tells him that his company means a lot to her too, but the way she words it, though, makes him realise that she's read his letter.
Dum dum dum.
Evelyn thinks that she did him a favour, as expressing his feelings is impossible for him, but she apologises anyway. It doesn't matter, though, because she's going away for a while, so he doesn't need to worry about being disappointed in her. And she just storms out, and Roy's left, and he says goodbye to an empty room.
That scene as well. You know, it wasn't 8.5 minutes long, and it wasn't quite, but it was so close.
Right.
Because, you know, we see Evelyn close to tears, and coming as close as she possibly could to admitting how important Roy is to her.
Yeah, she effectively does say it.
Right.
And in a little bit of a roundabout way, but...
Right. But unfortunately in a way that makes Roy upset at her for reading the letter.
Right. Evelyn goes back to Tyrone's to announce that she's leaving for a bit because Kath says James needs help. Tyrone is fucking furious.
Yes, he is.
Saying that Evelyn is taking the word of a smackhead and putting her friends ahead of her family, and reminding her that she said that she'd help out when Fizz was away, and
Right.
who's going to pick up the kids tomorrow? Oh, you'll
Right.
manage, says Evelyn. Then Evelyn gives Tyrone a hug, and then just leaves without a word.
Right. Oofed. And again.
Bloody
Oofed.
And when she's hugging Tyrone, and
She's near tears there too.
so long as Tyrone can't see her, she lets her guard down just a little bit, and as you said, just about in tears. So Evelyn's got a taxi and she meets Cassie at the precinct. Evelyn lied to her by telling her that Tyrone was going to be there. She did that to make sure Cassie showed up. Evelyn couldn't afford to get her into rehab. Actually, $5,000. It was $10,000 when it was Eric, remember? Maybe it's cheaper when it's drugs. So she's got use of James's flat for the summer and is going to help her go cold turkey once she's clean, and only then will she be able to meet Tyrone. Evelyn promises to help her every step of the way, and Cassie agrees, says that she's ready. They get in the taxi and they drive off, and that is how we end this week's episodes. A masterclass this week. Just how do you top that?
You can't. Just give Maureen Lipman all of the awards. I know Coronation Street doesn't qualify for the Emmys, but give her one anyway.
That was the Emmy reel that you send in, isn't it?
Right, yeah. Oofed. If I have one complaint, it's that if you've ever been to an Al-Anon meeting, you know that you cannot control someone else's addiction. And we had this conversation during the Eric thing as well. So it feels kind of irresponsible, the bit that Abby said of, well, I can only get through this because I have the help of these other people, you know, and which unwittingly guilts Evelyn into helping Cassie
Right.
yet again, when it's Cassie who has to want to get clean, and I'm not 100% sure she does. And, you know, and Evelyn was not lying when she was in that hospital and saying, I'm tired, I'm old, I can't help you. She can't help her.
No.
You know, it's like saying, well, my cancer's going to go away because my family loves me.
Yeah, I think I had some reservations about it as well, and they're kind of similar, but my reservation was it was never Cassie saying, I want to get better now.
Right.
It was Evelyn saying, you're going to get better now.
Right.
And Cassie really needs to be in charge of that.
Right. Yeah.
And
She does get in the car.
And I don't think it's that much of a big deal, but you know, it's up to the person who needs to accept that they need help and
Right.
and all that sort of stuff, and for it to need to stick, that is kind of important.
Right.
But I'm whatever size of nitpick that was, and it was pretty small. It kind of pales into insignificance, really, when you look at what was put on show this week in this storyline. And, you know, in other storylines, I thought it was a really strong week, but this really made it. This is what made it an exceptional week, was this storyline. I guess this isn't a nitpick, but the main complaint is they've shown us how good this can be and how incredible this relationship can be for 2 days, and then it's gone for months. Because this is going to be
Right.
why Maureen Lipman's gone out of it, because this is the one woman.
Remember last week when we were like, how on earth are they going to get her out of this?
Maybe it's already happened and we just didn't notice. No, here we are.
Here we are.
We finally got there.
We got there.
So they've shown us this amazing standard that they've set.
Right.
And then we're not going to get that again.
No.
Because it's gone away.
Not for a couple of months.
Right. And that's like...
It will show up eventually.
It feels kind of cruel.
Yeah.
But Oh,
well.
and you got to wonder what Tyrone's going to think when all this comes out. And I think the most incredible part of it is that they've made this retcon believable.
Yeah.
And they've made me kind of forget that it's a retcon.
But is it a retcon?
Yes.
Or were they establishing this from the very beginning?
No, because Tyrone's mum was Jackie Dobbs, and now we've decided that we don't want that to be the truth. We want this to be the truth. So it's kind of...
Yeah, but wasn't it Jackie Dobbs because she found him on the steps of the police station?
But that was never established in the late 90s and the early 2000s. It was Tyrone was Jackie Dobbs' son, and that was all there was to it. Tyrone had no question marks over his parentage. He was sure that Jackie was his mum. So this only became a thing in the last 5 years, where we decided, no, we don't want that to be the truth because there's no drama there anymore, and we don't want to get Margie Clark back into it. We want to do something different, so let's make up this story. And at the time, it felt really a bit of a stretch. But we kind of forgave it because it gave us Maureen Lipman.
Yeah.
And we were right to forgive it because this is better.
Yes.
But yeah, they've made all that inconsequential now, because the important thing is that Cassie, I absolutely believe, is now Tyrone's mother. And I was going through some moments over the past few years where I actually thought that Evelyn was maybe Tyrone's mother, and the whole Cassie thing was just made up to deflect from that, which would have been believable as well. But remarkably good stuff.
Yes.
I'm kind of torn about how this leaves the Roy and Yasmin and Evelyn little triangle that was getting built up. Because again, this feels like it's been left really at the cusp of something better, where Roy and Evelyn are kind of admitting through not the best method how they feel about each other, and then it's going to, again, it's not going to go anywhere for the next couple of months.
Right. That's fine. I like a slow burn.
Yeah, but in the meantime, I think maybe the fire between Stu and Yasmin is...
I don't think so. I don't think so at all.
I hope not.
Because where else would Stu live?
Right. And we've brought Eliza in.
Right, yes.
We can't be getting rid of her just for no reason.
Right,
so,
yeah.
Oh, well.
And Stu is calling her pet now, so...
I don't know if that's a great thing. Oh, well. That was the week that was Coronation Street. Tell me, Helen, as if I need to ask, what was your moment of the week?
It was...
Was it Daniel?
It was Stephen showing Tim's mum videos of Canada. No,
that is our...
Stop! It was Evelyn and Cassie the hospital scene.
I mean, I would
It's
agree with the
gotta be.
hospital scene, but there were just so many great moments.
Yeah.
Even on Friday, in fact, particularly on Friday, you could argue, but yeah, that 8.5 minute scene was just a bit of a masterclass. That is our
Moment of the week.
a moment of the year, moment of the last couple of years,
Moment of a lifetime.
maybe the moment of as long as we've been doing this podcast. Maybe
Yeah.
it's hard to think of something that was better than that.
Right.
Certainly not Gail's monologue. What about your boring moment of the week, though?
That would be Stephen showing Tim's mum
Really?
videos of Canada.
I thought all that was hilarious when they came in with the antler cap and all
No,
that
not
stuff.
that.
Oh,
In Nina's Rolls, when he was showing her the video of his friends in Canada on Canada Day.
oh yeah, that sucked. That's a
Boring moment of the week.
yeah, that's the boring moment of the week.
Right, Michael wearing antlers, I will watch all the time. Just give him an antler hat and never take it off of him.
This episode was brought to you with thanks to our friends of the podcast, Daisy and French Helen. Thanks, guys.
Ooh la la.
Hey, Canadian people, when was the last time you wore an antler hat? writing to tell us about it. We're the Talk of the Street at gmail.com, and we're at Corrie Podcast on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. You can shout me and Helen a coffee or become a friend of the podcast by heading to ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi.com/the Talk of the Street.
Please.
Check out the clicky section of voggle.co.uk for links to our merch store and YouTube channel. And if you're so inclined, please leave a rating and a review on the iTunes or your podcast provider of choice. And be sure to check out our pop culture sister podcast, The List of Lists. Thanks for making it to the end of another episode. And we will be back next week with more
Talk of the Street.
The Talk of the Street.
Bye.
Cheerio.